I was always fascinated with Adidas. When Adidas brought the shell toe out, they couldn't sell enough of them. When DMC wore them, they blew up, right? And I think that's the kind of the conscious change, realizing that the street culture can actually decide where a brand kind of wants to go and how to endorse the brand in a way that's making the brand down as opposed to a paid endorsement, if that makes any sense. So that's been my relationship with that aspect. I think it's a thing where it just fits me, really. It fits my ethos of being here forever and your grandma knows me, I guess.
I come from an era where, you know, we took brands and we changed the context of them. So whether that was us wearing kind of clothing from gentlemen's outfitters when we were sort of 16-year-old working class kids, or whether that be us taking sportswear from shops that were selling to kind of geeky runners, but we were actually buying their shoes to go to football matches in. I like the idea of taking things and changing the context of them, and so that's what I've always tried to do with SPEZIAL, is not make it so boil in the bag and make it something that people can take and adopt to their own personal style. What SPEZIAL is about, it's that audience who have a very traditional idea of what Adidas is and what Adidas isn't. They're in love with a particular era of Adidas.
My relationship with Gary, he was always a pretty infamous guy. I'd heard about Gary in the same way I'd heard about Doc Scott without meeting him for a long time. It was a couple of years. Michael Copperman said to me, yeah, Gary, he's the man, he's got his finger on the button. And I met him and he was just like he was kind of meeting the opposite. When I met him, I was like, geez, he's actually really quiet and laid back. But people talked him up in a way which is quite infamous, and I like that. It's just a mad relationship, but I've got a lot of respect for him. And I like the fact he's got a vision with it. And I think the difference between Gary and anyone else working with specials, he's a collector. He's been one of the boys. I always say that any DJ that plays music, if you want to get on the floor with the lads and listen to what people are playing, that shows you're a DJ. If you want to take your music and go home after you've played and get your money and go home, you're a babby. I don't agree in that. I agree if you get your hands dirty. And Gary's always got his hands dirty. He's always been on the terrace. He's always been part of the culture of collecting.
The Lacombe SPZL is one of the shoes that we've created in SPEZIAL that I'm most proud of. It's a hybrid shoe. It was never made originally, but it was inspired by a shoe called a Newcomb, which was a tennis shoe, but the Newcomb had this kind of nasty plastic here and here, where this is super luxurious. We always try to put one good-looking basic white shoe in the collection. I think there's something quite mature about these. It's a departure from Stan Smith. It's got this stubbier T-toe on it. There's no lining in the shoe, so it makes it incredibly comfortable on foot. Going for this bottle green and gold, it just gives it a very classic and aspirational kind of tennis look. Pleased to see these coming back. I know that I'm going to be getting several pairs of these. This is a TRX SPEZIAL, TRX SPZL. I'm a big fan of TRX, especially the TRX Runner. One of the things that used to happen in the 80s when Adidas was made under license was sometimes they'd have situations where it appears like they probably had some leftover uppers and some leftover soles and basically clamped the two things together, so you get sometimes these weird hybrid shoes that pop up. And so this is kind of almost like a reflection of that. Everything about this shoe I'm happy with, really. The specs of the upper, the materials of the upper, the colours, you know, but some of these details, even down to getting the right font for the TRX SPEZIAL on the stripe there, can be incredibly challenging. You've got this great little toe patch in here, which I'm always fond of because I'm also a fan of the Marathon TR. Slight off-white in the sole just gives it that kind of vintage feel. This is the Adidas Intac SPZL, based on a vintage shoe called the Adidas Gaucho, which is a pretty lesser known shoe. I haven't seen many Gauchos around at all in my time. It's pretty much a one-to-one reissue. It uses the Bermuda tooling, which I'm really pleased Adidas recreated, because there's so many great shoes that use the Bermuda tooling that, you know, there's a lot of mileage in that outside of the Bermuda. And these are one of them. The very distinctive thing about these is this kind of patch at the back, which really picks them out. And then you've also got this nice stitching around the toe, which we had a lot of disagreements about. It's a double stitch, and I was very tempted to put a third stitch in there. I always feel with Adidas like things should come in threes. So in the earlier samples we tried that, but in the end we went back to this double stitch and just kept it true to the OG. So this is the Super Tobacco SPZL. The Super Tobacco was an offshoot of the Adidas Tobacco, built on the Bermuda tooling. We've changed this from the OG slightly in so much as we've used a much nicer quality materials for the upper. This to me is almost like the brother of the Lacom in so much as we've used an unlined shoe, so it feels incredibly comfortable on foot, and it sits in that kind of twilight zone between a trainer and a shoe. This is the shoe that I've been super looking forward to getting a pair to wear. Really, really pleased with how these have come out.